So, hello. After my interview with the assistant principal in charge of safety and security, David Unruh, I learned a great deal about safety and security on a school campus. So, when I sat down with Mr. Unruh, we first talked about his general experiences in safety and security as an administrator and what those responsibilities are. So we really talked about the fact that he's been the safety and security administrator on Tomball Memorial High School campus since it opened. So this is the fifth year, or for 5 years. This is the sixth year. And then he was the safety and security administrator at Tomball High School for 5 years before that. We talked a lot about the general educational philosophy of safety and security as being the absolute priority for all of our students. For instance, we absolutely know that students can't achieve or learn at the level we expect them to if they don't feel safe or secure on their campus. So really every goal and mission of a high school or any campus, any public school campus, is safety and security first, because nothing else that you want to achieve happens if it's not safe or secure. So the next, we talked with Mr. Unruh about his specific responsibilities in safety and security. So he started with the state mandated things that he is responsible for, such as CERT, which CERT is the Crisis Emergency Response Team. He has mandatory CERT meetings and drills that he has performed that are state mandated. And then in addition, his monthly fire drills that the entire campus has to participate in, that's also state mandated. He feels very comfortable with those. They become very, very routine. So he talked about the more you practice for safety and security and the more that you know that if an emergency ever does happen on your campus, then you'll revert back to your lowest level of training. So Mr. Unruh's philosophy is to keep that low level of training as high as possible so that all faculty and students know exactly what to do in any given crisis or emergency situation. So the next thing we talked about is his weekly communication. So Mr. Unruh puts out every Thursday a sometimes lengthy email about all different safety and security topics. A lot of times there are very educational articles that are attached to it. We just recently got one before the holidays and the winter season coming up that it was all about slips, trips, and falls due to things like the things that might be on the floor in your way, or icy conditions, which obviously in our geographic area we don't get that much. But certainly we appreciate that his progressive thought and philosophy helps us keep safe. In addition to his weekly emails, we talked about safety and security in two facets. So the first thing that we talked about is safety and how we keep our kids safe, in addition to things like training, everything from slips, trips, and falls to what to do with kids who are having a medical situation, to not opening doors for anyone, to really the act of safety and security involved alcohol, drugs, and weapons that potentially could be on school campuses. So we spend a lot of time focusing on our prevention programs in that area of drugs and alcohol. The drugs and alcohol prevention program is divided into two segments. The first one is random drug testing, and the other one is canine intervention on school. So we'll talk about the random drug testing first. Our random drug testing policy in our district is designed to prevent students from ever trying and to catch students who may be using drugs and get them help. It is not in any way punitive, which means if a student tests positive for drugs and alcohol in their system, our mission is to rehabilitate them and get them on the right path, as opposed to punishing them. So all students who drive on campus, have a parking permit, and are involved in any extracurricular activity that competes or performs in any way, shape, or form, are all subject to random drug testing. They have to fill out the form to be involved in those activities or to receive a parking permit. So 3 to 5 times a semester, we get a list from that database, and we get about 55 to 60 names on that list. And then they pick 25 to 30 names where they pull them out of class with their belongings, and they have to submit a random drug test. And there's a third-party vendor that comes in that actually takes the samples and then runs the tests and then sends the results back to the administration. And again, Mr. Unruh is pleased to report that out of all the random drug testing, only a very, very, very small percentage of them come back positive. Those that do get positive, they lose their rights to drive on campus or perform or compete in their extracurricular activity for 10 days on the first offense, 15 days for the second, and then the calendar school year for the third offense. If you do test positive, the next drug testing, your name is automatically on it. It's no longer random until you test negative. The second part of drug prevention is our canine intervention. Our canine intervention happens routinely on our campus. It happens at least 3 times a semester, where a law enforcement officer with a canine drug sniffing dog will come into our campus. They go in to athletic lockers, student parking lots, and each time they visit, Mr. Unruh ensures that they go into at least 2 classrooms where they pull everybody out of the classroom, leaving all of their stuff, backpacks, belongings, etc. And the drug dog goes in for about 1.5 minutes. It's actually happened in my classroom. And so if the dog alerts its handler to anything, then there's obviously a search and so forth. The dog does get alerted to certain things, but again, Mr. Unruh was pleased to report that very few times, even when the dog is alerted, is it anything that is severe enough to cause punitive damages such as alternative school or suspension, etc. There has been times where the canine interventionist had alerted something in somebody's car, but most often it is spent ammunition, as we still are a little bit of a rural community in Tomball, and also tobacco has been an issue in the past. But as far as dangerous illicit drugs, the problem is extremely small, and we're very grateful for that. Mr. Unruh also credits our drug prevention programs as aid to that, because it gives kids a way out. If they're offered illegal drugs or tobacco, things like that, they say, no, I can't do that. I'm an athlete, or I'm a dancer, or whatever, and I can't afford it, a negative drug test, etc., or a positive drug test. So that's most of our focus on student safety and keeping them safe. The aspect of that is our general school security. So we have a very large spread out high school. Our external perimeter is completely fenced in except for our parking lots. And then areas of the school that are outside beyond the parking lots are separated from the parking lot by a fence and gates in every entrance. Our building, as I said, is spread out. We have doors on the building perimeter that are always locked during the day. Every single one of them is locked except for one of the 4 doors that entrance of the school that guests can arrive and check in at. And we do have perimeter doors that are open early in the morning for students and faculty to enter through. However, those doors are locked soon after first period starts, and then everybody that comes in has to come in through the front of the school. We also have security doors in the front entrance, and those are always locked. So every guest has to be funneled into the front desk to be checked in. So even if someone were to barrel in the front doors that are unlocked, they couldn't get through the second set of doors without walking around through the exceptionist desk. And that was designed for a secure purpose as well. Also, our student resource officer, or SRO, police officer, his office is also right there near the entrance as well, for added security measures, obviously. We do have portable buildings in the back of the school outside, and those doors are always open to the external perimeter of the building. but those doors are only open to allow students in and out, access to the portables and athletic fields, etc. But again, those outside areas are protected by either wrought iron or chain link fencing that surrounds the perimeter. So no one, or at least without climbing a fence, can get access to our students and the back of our school building without first going through the front entrance. So the next thing that we talked about outside of safety and security is what type of things does Tomball Memorial High School do differently than other schools in the manner of safety and security. So we talked at length about that, and to summarize that, first thing that Mr. Unruh was very proud about is that we train our substitutes in all different types of drills. So in addition to the state mandated drills that we conduct, we also conduct lockdown drills, active shooter drills, other inclement weather drills such as tornado drills, and then we have what we call the serious evacuation drill. Obviously, fire evacuation is part of our evacuation drills, but we have what we call a serious evacuation drill that we practice each year at in-service, where there may be a bomb threat or an internal chemical spill, and we have to evacuate the building for law enforcement or emergency personnel to come in and clear the building for us. And what we do is every teacher has a spot on the practice football field, which is the furthest facility on the perimeter from the main building. And we all know where our spots are, so if that code was given, we could all take our students to that practice field and stand and sit safely in our assigned area. Snacks and bottled water would be distributed, so the logistics are already practiced. There would be a command center for administrators, and at the very back of the property, there would even be a system for parents to come pick up their students safely to where they didn't have to get close to the building. And there's policies in place to where we would have faculty members and administrators who were runners, who would know exactly where every student is on the football field based on their teacher, and then they could be safely escorted to the area where their parents could safely pick them up. So all down to the basic logistics is practiced, and so I feel comfortable as a teacher that if that code was given, I could direct my students the quickest and safest way to get to that area and know exactly where my spot is. I also know where my neighbors are, because we're all set on the football field alphabetically by last name. So I know who all my neighbors are, so I can help. And then once we get there, we can make sure all our kids are separated. We would have our roles. We would know who was absent, who wasn't here. And we also have a process when we're walking out of the field to sweep the restrooms and any hallways, stairways, and stuff like that to make sure no kids that may have been out of class for any reason weren't included in the evacuation. And then once we get out to the football field, we make sure that they get to their right class. So I feel like that our administration and safety and security covers their bases pretty clearly and effectively in those type of drills. Also, we have a sub-buddy system, so each teacher has a sub-buddy. And that other teacher is someone that kind of takes care of their sub-buddy when they have a substitute. As I said before, the substitutes are trained on all these drills, including lockdown and active shooter, which I'll discuss in a minute, the difference between those two. So we take care of our sub-buddies. So if my sub-buddy has a sub, I go and check on that substitute, make sure they have everything they need, not just for content and instruction-wise, but if there's a fire drill that day or anything like that, I make sure that they're okay, and my sub-buddy does the same thing for me. That's a policy that actually Mr. Unruh designed and implemented in the district, in addition to training all our subs in our emergency drills. So I'm pretty grateful for that as well. It makes me feel comfortable if I have to be out or, family illness or whatever, that my subs are well taken care of in the classroom as far as safety and security. The other thing that Tomball Memorial High School does that may be different is we do differentiate between an active shooter drill and a lockdown drill. Lockdown drill, unfortunately, we had one this year when there was a robbery in the vicinity of our school system, and the local authorities put us on lockdown. It was less than 20 minutes until that person was apprehended. But sometimes we do have to go on lockdown, which means we just make sure all of our classrooms are locked. We keep our kids in the classroom. There is no changing of classes or anything like that. Shelter-in-place drill is very similar to that, except we conduct regular business inside the building. We don't let students leave early or anything like that until the all clear is given. But our active shooter drill is a little bit different. It is a lockdown drill where we lock our doors and cover our windows just like in a lockdown. We have window coverings that are in our room, and we have a giant green portion of it or red portion on the back, and we just put green or red facing outside of our window. Red means we need assistance, green means we're good. And we also we will pile classroom furniture, desks and so forth, in different piles around the room and spread out our kids throughout the room in case of an active shooter drill. Because we've been educated by law enforcement that putting kids in the corner of the room away from the window, it could be a deadly situation if an active shooter got into the classroom, because theoretically they can spray bullets into one area and causing mass damage and loss of life of our students. So we spread them out with barricades, and we educate our students on the basic run, hide, fight philosophy in case of an active shooter. If you can get out safely, obviously that's your first choice, to run, to get out. If you can't get out safely, then hide and barricade yourself is the second option. And then if your life is in immediate danger, obviously the third thing is to defend yourself in the best way that you know how. So our students, I think, feel comfortable in that sense as well. And we don't perform those drills very often, but we do educate our students in exactly what we would do in that situation. And I think that's a responsibility of faculty members, not just administrators. So in my interview with Mr. Unruh, I learned an absolute ton of information that goes into safety and security, things that we as teachers take for granted all the time and don't really focus on exactly what an administrator has to do that's in charge of safety and security. So the last part, and to kind of complete the competency 9 of this video observation in my interview with the Safety and Security Administration, I was going to do a very quick walk through the campus and show some of the exterior doors. So let's wrap up this video by doing just that. So we're going to be a little bit wobbly, so forgive me for that. We're going to leave my classroom, and I'm going to turn the camera around. So what you're looking at now is just one example of our exterior doors that stay locked all throughout the day. Only a few exterior doors are open during the morning and then locked after first period. This is our athletic hallway. The athletic hallway leads to the student parking lot. Those doors are locked during the day. They are open early in the morning as students come into the building, but locked soon after first. All these exterior doors that you're looking at remain locked during the day. This is the back of the school. That leads to athletic fields and some teaching areas behind the library. But even though these doors actually remain open during the day so students can get in and out, it is protected by an outdoor perimeter. The outdoor perimeter, again, is a system of fencing. And we're just going to go to the front of the school to show the double doors. And that will conclude our walkthrough. Now, the wings of the building are exactly the same, one athletic hallway and one fine arts hallway that are on the wings of the academic halls. So there's no point in going to the other side. It's exactly the same. It was designed that way. This is the front of the school. As you can see, 2 sets of double doors at the end. The first set, only one door is open. For all guests to come in, they must be funneled through the front desk. The second set of security doors remain locked throughout the day at all times. You can go out, but you cannot go in, which is just the extra added security. That concludes the video. Thank you.